or a little while after this had happened, he invited a newly ordained priest. He was a newly ordained SSPX priest to come and visit our house, came over to dinner. And unbeknownst to me, the reason Dad had invited this priest was to hopefully talk some sense into me.
Nice.
And so we were all sitting in the living room, talking about things. And eventually it came around to kind of a back and forth between me and the priest. And I just started asking him some of, the questions, the things that had caused me to leave, such as the relationship of the SSPX to the magisterium, and how could he reconcile their stance with a traditional Catholic, ironically, traditional Catholic approach to submission to the magisterium and submission to the Pope's authority. And how they could justify, rejection almost in toto of the Second Vatican Council. And if they don't, the parts they don't reject, completely ignoring it or ignoring its pastoral directives, and as well as some other issues. And anyway, it's the last encounter I really had with an SSPX priest like this. But the end result was him screaming at me. It's the last debate. He was just like, you need to be quiet and you need to know your place. You do not know what you're talking about, and you need to know your place. You're a layman, and not only that, but you're a young, inexperienced layman. Which of course is kind of funny coming from a priest as well. But I mean, it was like, he couldn't answer my arguments. I mean, all he could do was yell at me that the SSPX were the ones who were truly faithful to the Pope, and how dare I question their loyalty? I hope to eventually have a better interaction with an SSPX priest at some point. I wish they would come on and talk with me, or debate with me. I'd love to have a debate that doesn't devolve into one of them screaming
hysteria.
at me.
Yeah, right.
That was my last debate with an SSPX priest.
Oh my gosh. Oh no. I mean, I have to say it is a little odd. Even I always hear an excuse when it's brought up that SSPX priests were, no one can be spared of their about 700 priests to, not even one priest to work in apologetics and, public engagement in these issues to help catechize people. It's like, they say, well, but they're too busy with their pastoral work. And it's like, but pastoral work also includes spreading the gospel to those who don't have the fullness of it and bringing them into the church. And I don't see that happening. It's like they're all just preserving the ones they've already got. And I definitely, it would seem that they don't have answers to these things, and that would be exposed if they were to try to engage with people publicly, and just like this priest with you. And that has been my experience with traditionalists. If they will consent to even talk to you about things past a certain point, it devolves into a yelling match. Or I'm not yelling, but they're yelling because they can't answer my questions. They interrupt. They just can't stand hearing certain things. And then there's always these stock phrases that come out that are supposed to be their defense, but they're not rational. It's purely emotion. It just always devolves to purely emotion. And I'm like, very interesting. Like, if you had an argument, we should be able to talk about this calmly, and you should be able to prove to me without a doubt that I should be holding your position. And that has never happened. Not in 15 years. No.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it can be tough. I mean, we're all people. We're all emotional, right? I mean, we're all emotional creatures,
right.
And some of us have more or less control over our emotions than others. So it's good to be patient with people, but yeah, I haven't ever, when I ask prying questions about certain issues and certain problematic stances that either the Archbishop took or the society and its priests take today. People always want to change the subject. They always want to say, well, what about the Pope kissing the Quran? Or what about, religious liberty? Or what about, this? Or what about that? They will not address. They do not have good answers for their own problematic opinions when challenged on it. And I hope that will change. But like you said, the policy of the SSPX is to engage in apologetics on their terms and on their ground. So they'll do a Crisis in the Church series, or they'll do a mock debate like they're two. I think they did a conference on the papacy. I think it was 2012. They did a conference and they staged a mock debate between two SSPX priests, and one of the SSPX priests was actually just reading the state of conscience positions that had been written by the other SSPX priest who was defending the SSPX position, and of course the state of conscience position wasn't even done justice. I mean, it was like maybe a few paragraphs that stated their position, and then you got 10 minutes of the society's rebuttal to that. And not only that, but what shocked me was that they actually admitted in the course of the conference that they had reached out to State of Acontis, to ask questions and to prepare for their mock debate, and that multiple State of Acontis had offered to engage in a public debate for the conference. Like, they actually admitted that in the course of the conference, that there would have been a State of Acontis or several of them that would have come and actually engaged in like a State of Acontis versus SPX priest. Why wouldn't they do that if they had the opportunity to have a open discussion? But I mean, it just goes to show that they're uncomfortable with open conflict or open challenging of their positions. And I think it's because they know that their positions are superficial, that they're most of them are only skin deep, or they lose, they muddy the waters in canon law, and then they just repeat those same talking lines as they have been over the last 50 years. Right. And it's unfortunate.
Right. No, I appreciate your focus too on getting out of the waters of canon law, because canon law is important, but it's also, I mean, law, it's not a person. It's not a theology. You take it to the moral level and you're like, well, let's make this a little simpler for everybody and talk about how this affects people directly in the family unit of the church. And what is this doing? What does this look like if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck? It's probably a duck. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's how you make a rational argument.
Laura, no, Laura, you have no authority to declare it's a duck. Okay, you have no authority, so don't you dare say that it's a duck.
I will leave my brain on the shelf. I will be a good clericalist.